All right, so welcome back everybody. My name's Andrew and you're watching the Kelley's Country Life. So we have a really exciting episode for you today. We're gonna dive right into it here because we have a lot to cover. So if you happen to own a Masterbuilt Gravity Series grill / smoker in the 560, the 800, or the 1050, you need to watch this. So I had a small one-man business that's made right here in America reach out to me. His name's Luke with LSS Mods. He makes a ton of aftermarket stainless accessories just for those 3 model grills that I just mentioned. So he's seen where I did a review video on this grill, maybe some cooking, some other things I released, and said, hey, would you like to try some accessories for this grill? Just so happened I already knew about his accessories and about his companies with all the forums that I've been on and a lot of the other YouTube videos that I've watched. I like to read the comments and look down there, and a lot of people are using his accessories. So I have a full box down here of a bunch of Luke's accessories. That's what we're going to answer today. Are these accessories worth your time, and more importantly, are they worth your money? Do they make a difference with the grill? So let's get them installed, let's test them. I'll give you the good and the bad on them. All right, so let's start digging in the box. I'm sure my puppy's going to help me here. Plenty of stuff for him to play with. And let's see where we want to start. Probably with this accessory right here. All right, so for starters, we need to take the charcoal out of the grill in order to install some of these accessories. So whenever I got on Luke's website and seen this accessory I'm about to show you, I was like, excellent idea. That's something I know for sure I'm interested in for various reasons. So right now, if you wanted to empty the full bin of charcoal, that could be 16 pounds of charcoal. Well, you could pull out this little grate insert right here, dump a few pounds into this pan, and chances are it's going to spill over and go out everywhere. Well, he has made a stainless steel chute with a catch that's designed to dump your charcoal right into your bucket down here. Now, the good thing about that is if you want to turn over your charcoal, I smoke with briquettes, I smoke with lump charcoal, I mix wood in there, so I'll have oak wood chunks, cherry, apple wood, and there's times that you're going to cook different things, and I want an easy way to be able to empty this bin instead of lifting this top off and having to reach down in there, getting smutty, nasty, and dirty, plus you can't really reach the bottom. It's kind of an inconvenient way to empty this. This chute, I'm hoping, is going to help eliminate that problem. So it looks like you take your ash pan out, take this chute, stick in here with this little lip right here on the back side to catch. And I can just stick me a bucket right underneath there and hopefully I'll pull this out. Now I expect this to catch, but now my charcoal is going to dump. Let's see. It actually came out a lot easier than I was thinking, that factory grate. So it just so happened I only had a few pounds of charcoal left in there, but you get the point. I pulled that out, the few pounds that I did have, hit the chute, went right into the bucket. Now I can put a lid on this bucket and store whatever charcoal that I have, label it, and use it again later if I want to. All right, so next we're probably gonna put the most difficult piece in as far as installation goes, and maybe the most controversial. And this is the Firebox mod that everybody has heard so much about. So this is a very heavy, thick stainless insert that goes on the inside lower section right here of the hopper chamber, and that's where your fires happen. That's where the magic happens, so to speak. But it gets so extremely hot in that chamber, people are finding out the inner walls are rusting out. Now, I have read a lot of comments online. Some people supposedly have reached out to Masterbuilt, and Masterbuilt claims that those thin steel walls are only there to hold back, I think it's a fire brick material behind them. They're sacrificial. They're designed to get holes in them, rust out, and basically fall out of the way, but your fire brick material should always stay there. Now, with that said, obviously a lot of people are not believing that. Whether that's true or not, I haven't personally verified it because, well, one of Luke's popular mods is this Firebox mod right here. So what this essentially does is we'll take this top hopper off, insert this in, and now you have a very thick stainless wall instead of that stamped steel that comes from factory. So this itself would have to burn and rust out before it ever get to the factory walls, then ultimately that fire brick material back there. So there are just a few screws all the way around holding this heat shield on. Luke's instructions say to remove those heat shield screws. So that's what I'm gonna do real quick. Top and middle right here. And we'll pop this off and see if we can separate the pieces. Okay, so now I'm going to disconnect these wires from this top switch. Just 2 wires. I do not believe it matters what orientation you put them back on. Actually, it doesn't, because all that switch does is just break signal. All right, so now hopefully you can see there are 6 screws all around here, very easy to get to. We're going to take those out and remove this top piece, getting access to the actual burn chamber right here. Okay, so this hopper assembly comes off. All right, it's going to be hard to see, but typically you have that grate right here that we pulled out earlier to allow the charcoal to dump. And this is the air that goes into the grill itself. So air comes in from the bottom, burns across the bottom of the charcoal, goes back inside. So this is a very hot area. And as you can see, maybe you can tell out of the camera, see how that's already bowed out? All these walls are kind of bowing and buckling. Well, that's going to happen. It's stamped sheet metal, and this is a very hot area. But supposedly there is like a fire brick, insulation material behind these walls. And what people are starting to see is these walls rust out very quickly. And you're kind of just left with something that's unsightly, doesn't look good, and concerns people. All right, so I can already tell this is going to be a very, very tight fit. And his instructions say that. Luke kind of forewarned me of that as well. So I went ahead and brought a block of wood out here and a small sledgehammer. And we're gonna have to gently persuade this to go in, if you know what I mean. I think once we get it started, we'll be okay. And depending on the condition of your firebox, this may be an easy process or relatively difficult. And if you're working with a brand new grill, well, it should technically slide right in. So I'm just gonna take a 2x4, put across top of this, and let's see if we can gently get it to go in. All right, that's going in okay. Okay, that actually went in relatively easy, I'd say. Okay, so check this out. That only took just a few seconds to get in. And now we have a nice thick-walled stainless burn chamber. Kind of a neat idea right there. Would love to see it come from factory this way. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is flip this hopper over, get this area nice and clean to where it goes down on this gasket. And Luke happens to provide new gasket material that we're gonna place all the way around here. Looks like it goes just in on the inside of the screw holes. And I am assuming you leave the factory gasket there. Doubling up a gasket in this particular instance, I can't see how it hurts. If I find out from him otherwise that you weren't supposed to do that, I'll report that out. But I think I'm gonna leave both. The factory one looks like it's in good condition, although I have noticed where a lot of these pieces meet together is a bit leaky on this smoker. Okay, so I have the bottom side of this hopper cleaned off. Luke's instructions were quite clear to be very careful how you apply this because there is just barely enough to make a full gasket. It's got an adhesive backing on it. So let's go ahead and run a strip down either side. All right, and I made sure I left my gasket sticking just a little ways past this lip right here so I can press this new seal right into it, closing up all gaps. Otherwise, that's where you're gonna have a point where smoke is going to leak. And it looks like he provided plenty of gasket material. You got just a little bit to play with there. All right, so I'm going to reinstall this the same way you've seen me take it apart. Also, make sure you drive your firebox all the way down till it bottoms out. That way, whenever you go to put this hopper back in, it has a lip on the inside. It doesn't touch the top of the firebox and actually lift this up and not allow the gasket to seal. All right, so the next area we are going to focus on is right there in the top of that hopper lid. You can see all of the buildup and junk going on there. So some people are saying as that kind of hot gas rises up here, it can create, well, an atmosphere that will actually corrode and eat away at this metal eventually. Not to mention this always looks relatively disgusting. You got to clean it. But it's just painted metal. At the end of the day, Luke has made a stainless insert up here. Some people may be interested in this. You get a further gasket, because I'm gonna be honest with you, one area I find that the grill doesn't seal the world's best is up here towards the top. I always see a little bit of smoke coming out, so I'm kind of curious if adding this extra plate in and gasket will help with that. Okay, so if you'll notice, there's 4 screws right here on this lid. We're gonna be working with the front 2 screws here and here. We're just gonna remove those. You can see this comes with tabs. Insert this right in, screw it to it. It's about that simple. Okay, now we're getting a very nice tight seal. I actually may even adjust back off on this latch some. Make sure I don't bend hinges or anything. So I'm really curious to see how this one works out. Some minor flexing back here on the factory hinge, so I think I am going to back off on this just a little. Okay, for the next mod, I'm going to go ahead and be honest with you. Luke actually told me he wasn't sure that he finds this mod necessary. But at the end of the day, he's got a bunch of customers constantly reaching out to him saying, we want this. And we all know if you're in business, you better build what your customers want. So he asked if he even needed to send this out for me to try. I told him yes, because I actually think this mod will work only on certain times. So this is a back damper. Have you noticed a lot of these grills have vents and they have no way to damper or close off like your traditional smoker does. But on the Masterbuilt 800 and 1050, you have a very small opening back here, where Luke said that he really feels like the dampers work the best is on the Masterbuilt 560. It's a completely different design lid and top end and has a very large gap across the back. And I noticed a lot of people online have been looking for a damper. Well, it just so happens he makes one. And the reason I think this will get some use from me, although not much, is because I was just using this smoker right after Hurricane Ian came through here in Florida. The next 2 days after that, it was just steady 30 or 40 mile an hour winds, ridiculously windy. And I was out here trying to smoke. That's the only time I have found that I could not control temperature in this grill. It actually kept running hot on me because the wind was so powerful, it was actually blowing probably through the fan vent back up out this opening here, stoking the fire. I mean, 30, 40 mile an hour winds, of course that's gonna happen. I know a lot of y'all live in windy areas too. Now, had I been able to damper or choke off the flow going through there, no doubt it wouldn't have stoked the fire anymore. Now, that's the only time I've seen that. I always brag on how well this smoker right here controls temperature. It's extremely consistent, and I've only seen that happen once. So if you want to smoke on windy days or you're in a windy location, I think the dampers really will help. Now, this is a very easy process. Big hole on this end. You can see you have bolts right here, the same on either side. This hole is designed to slide over this bolt. Looks like this side, we just take this screw out, piece like that holding the lid on. We will snap this side over that bolt like what I just removed. He includes a little wing nut, or a little thumb nut I should say. We'll slide right through here. So essentially what happens is you can just leave the damper open like this, or you can loosen this, close off the back side, and that actually works really, really well. So check this out. Just loosen this thumb nut. You can fold that all the way down. Let's make sure the grill still works just like it should. No interference. Awesome. So you leave it like that. And if you want to damper off, you can do just a little, or you can close it completely off. Awesome. Just don't forget, you need to loosen this when you go to open your grill. Like I said, I just don't see there's a whole lot of time that you're going to need this, but there is times that, yeah, you are. All right, so let's move to the inside of the grill, and this is where some of Luke's mods get me really excited, and I can see some practical uses here. So for starters, for some reason, Masterbuilt did not provide any way to take your grates in and out. And you know, with a smoker, your grates are going to get disgusting. It's just the way it is. You're constantly doing bacon wrap stuff, fatty goods such as Boston butts, things like that. So you always have buildup on your grate top. And last thing you want to do is go grabbing those, touching them with your hand. The grates are very heavy, so barbecue tongs typically don't get them out. Why they didn't make a grate removal tool is beyond me. Something very simple to stamp out and produce. So as soon as I seen this mod right here, I said, Thank you, LSS Mods, for making this something so practical and simple, yet needed. So as you can see, this is just a great hook, so you can lift it in and out, and he's even put a little bottle opener there on the end. But I'm more concerned about the Grate hook portion itself. So you slide it in. Now look, I can conveniently remove my grate. Plus, that's the good thing about this Masterbuilt smoker is these are double-sided grates. You got a sear side on this side, smoke side over here, so it's not uncommon to constantly take these in and out. Plus, when you're needing to clean and service your grill like, oh wow, I really need to, this is nice. So an excellent little thoughtful tool right there. This alone is worth going to his website and buying. Even works with the top grates. Okay, so let's talk about one of my biggest gripes with this grill, and it's the manifold system. Not that there's anything wrong with it, it works great, but as you can see, you constantly get buildup on this manifold, and whenever you go to jack the temperature up, say 350, 450 degrees, if you have grease and all build up on here, what you're constantly going to when you're smoking and rendering fat out of product, you're gonna get grease fires. Believe it or not, I've already had multiple grease fires in here. No longer than I've had this. You literally need to clean this every single time after you have a fatty cook. And that requires taking, like say, a putty knife, scraping down this manifold system, which is the most important. That's where your ignition is gonna happen. And then you rake all this into the bottom pan, which is removable. So overall, not a complicated process, but not everybody wants to have to constantly take their grates out and do this. So this is probably going to be my favorite mod right here that LSS Mod offers. This is basically a hood that goes right over that manifold down there, and it's a drip hood. As you see, it's got flared edges, so when your fat and all falls down on this, it's slightly sloped that way. The fat can't roll off down here where there's openings and the flame is coming out. It'll run to this end. Now you could probably still get some ignition here, I'm assuming, but they thought of something that was genius. So you can get this manifold right here with or without these holders right here. So these pop right in on those lips that I was just telling you about. Some of you already see where we're going right here. I love this idea. Now look what you can do. You can put drip pans, large ones, 2 small ones, underneath here to catch all your grease and drippings. And here is the great part about that. Now I can put my cast iron grates back in. You can see the pan is below grate level, and you can get your bottom cooking grates back. Whereas before I would have had to put a pan on my bottom cast iron grates, try to cook on the small shelves up here if I wanted to use a drip pan. So I think this is an excellent idea that they came up with, to put drip pans down here, get all your cooking surface back. I really like this. Plus, if you constantly use these really cheap aluminum pans, your drippings go in here, well, you've just eliminated the need to ever really come in here and clean your grill. Although occasionally you will, because some drippings will make it past your pans. But if you're, say, putting a couple Boston butts or a rack of ribs over 2 of these, you've just cut your cleaning time way down. It's probably very rare that I'll ever have to go in there anymore, scrape all the fat out. Whereas right now, I have to do that every single time after a fatty cook, just so we don't get grease fires and ignition. All right, so since we're down here in the bottom of the grill right now, one other thing that they sent me out, he makes a little water pan holder. I think it's another pretty good idea. Some people do like to use apple juices, water, pans, things just like that to keep moisture in the grill. Now you could do that with your drip pans, or I thought it was a great idea that they have this little container right here, so now you can pour whatever liquids that you want in here, and it sits right on top of the hottest part of the manifold, so it potentially should help bring that moisture out. And something else I thought was a nice touch, they include this really large syringe, so if your water pan runs empty, say during a long smoke, you can put whatever liquid you want in this, stick it down between the grates, and fill your water pan back up. All right, so one other thing that I was not crazy about, you've seen the size of those small little racks that I just took off the top. So I'm really looking forward to using these. They say they require 0 modifications. Looks like that is the case. Now, I'm gonna be honest, looking at them, you don't wanna put a tremendous amount of weight. I think they say they hold 20, maybe even 30 pounds, but it's all in how you distribute it. There is more than enough support here to put a full rack of ribs, but if you're gonna go ahead and put a gigantic Boston butt in the middle, Well, it may cause it to flex some, but actually looking at it, it does look okay. Now, due to the size of these grates right here, you're gonna have limited access underneath. So chances are you're gonna cook with one grate, or you can buy a 2-pack. So if you're wanting to put more food up top, now you can see how much cooking area we just got. We just dramatically increased how much food I can put on this grill. But again, a rack this size is going to limit your bottom racks. That's when you can go right back to a factory rack, or just take the middle out. Now look at how much room I have at top for a warming rack, or just for kind of some cold smoke. And then I get easy access back down here to my cast iron grates. So you can kind of use a combination of factory and his depending on what you're doing. Now, one thing I do want to check, let's make sure these are gonna fit okay and the door is gonna close okay. Okay. Very tight fit, but everything is clearing just fine. I don't see nothing rubbing, hear nothing binding. Now that's awesome. Just got a ton of room. Now think about this, if I want to do tons of wings, for example, we love smoking and grilling wings, I just dramatically increased my amount of room. Plus, whenever I do ribs, I don't like ribs on the bottom cast iron grate right above the heat. I like to suspend them and just get them up in the smoke and let them go for hours. So I can realistically do, looks like close to 4 racks of ribs here, depending on if you're doing baby backs, spare ribs, you know, those can get kind of big. You could potentially do several more racks of ribs on your grill now with these. All right, a couple of the last mods that were sent out to me, and I'm genuinely curious about this one right here. So you'll see a lot of people on YouTube take the ash pan itself out right here. So the claim is, as the charcoal burns and some of the hot ash and embers fall down in there, they ignite your chunks of wood in there to get you an extra smoky flavor. Keep in mind you can mix wood throughout your hopper, which I do, but you can add additional wood down there. I'm personally not experiencing good ignition unless I put really small, almost wood chips, tiny small chunks down there. When I put my larger chunks, which are very well seasoned and dry, they just tend to not even really smolder, they just blacken, and they don't provide the smoke I'm looking for. So a little secret and a tip that I have been doing is I've been putting charcoal down here in the pan, just a few briquettes, get them lit beforehand with a propane torch, and then I put my wood chunks right on top, close this up, start my cooking, and I get instant smoke. So now you can put chunks on top of this rack, and the theory is they're now very close to where the charcoals themselves are burning, where the air is coming in and you're getting all that ignition. So getting it up several inches off the bottom, getting it out of the ashes, which ash is insulation, by the way, you should be able to put some chunks up here and kind of get that instant smoke and ignition. I'm very curious about this. This is something we're going to test on the next several cooks on the channel, and I'll let you know about. And plus, because you have the big holes, the ash itself can still drop into the bottom of the pan. Now, because you're getting chunks of wood right up here by the air intake where the air comes in from the fan, there is potential risk of coals popping back out and getting into the fan, potentially damaging the fan itself. So they also make this little grate right here that you slide in where the air damper typically goes. Well, it'll be this one down here. Let me get it correct. And that still allows airflow to come through because, well, it has all the holes, but now you have somewhat of a screen there to keep larger chunks of embers from popping and going back down the air chute where the fan is underneath and potentially damaging your fan. I'm not sure how many more they have on their website. I've looked at the website quite a bit, but I can't remember if there's some potential other mods that I didn't get in this particular package. Now, with that said, I want y'all to know I'm getting paid $0 to make this review, and I make no money if you go to their website and purchase anything. I just accepted the products because I seen some improvements that I wanted on my own personal smoker, and I've heard y'all talk so much about these mods in my comments, as well as I've seen it on a bunch of other videos. So now I can be a test platform and a voice for y'all and let you know if some of these are worth your time and money to install or not. So as we do future cooks here on the channel, I'll make videos for that, and I'll make mentions of things that I do like and I don't like. Now, with that said, I'm curious to hear what's your favorite mod that you've seen here today. What's the one that you think that you would go and do first? A lot of people, it's probably going to be the Firebox mod, which was the most involved, but honestly, I think I did it in 15 to 20 minutes. Let's just say 20 minutes right there. And I think that's a mod that's just gonna make people sleep better at night, knowing that's the hottest and most wear and tear part of the grill is the Firebox itself. Well, that mod right there should probably outlast the grill. I'm super excited about probably the most inexpensive mod at all. I can lift my grates now without getting disgusting. My goodness, that should have come from factory. You can't complain with more cooking surface. Yeah, this is gonna be nice to try out right here. And probably my favorite mod of all, other than, well, the Grate lift, the fact that I now have that damper cover down there, that manifold cover, whatever you want to call it, and I can put drip pans underneath my bottom grate, get all this extra cooking surface back now, and potentially not have grease fires and have to constantly do all that nasty cleaning that we dread. All right, so that's it. I know this was a long video, but I wanted to get all this out. Drop me a comment if you have any questions on install or how things are going. I'll always come back and check the comments on this video, and we'll have some more cooking videos coming up here before long, and you'll start seeing me slowly integrate and use these, and you can see for yourself how well they work out. Links down in the description if you want to go check out LSS Mods website. Thank you, Luke, for sending this stuff out. Looking forward to really putting it to the test. Catch you on the next video.